coming into work. Thought I'd go through some of my thoughts from yesterday. I'm all discombobulated. For some reason, I feel like today's Monday. It's Wednesday. It is what it is. Yesterday, Thomas Massey lost his primary, which now I don't necessarily agree with Thomas Massey 100%. I'll be completely honest about that. Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, like I do think he's at least been somewhat principled in his voting pattern. Like, as far as I understood it, he's pretty much voted against additional spending 100% of the time. So, like, if it's going to raise the national debt, he's just always voted no. Which, I mean, like, yeah, I think there's a debate conversation to be had about what you spend money on. I'm gonna go. I don't think we should be spending the deficit that we are. But I think there's a conversation to be had there. But yeah, like, just a little bit fascinating. And I thought he was really good on the Epstein files, and I appreciated that he went after, what now he's been a politician, so I think you can handle with a grain of salt what you see and what you get. But I think hopefully, and he kind of alluded to this, maybe we get Mr. Massey unchained, right? Like, he doesn't have to win. He doesn't have to win re-election anymore because he's being replaced by a Navy SEAL guy, and which, concerningly enough, that guy apparently is supporting a draft. The number of people who are openly been like, yeah, we need to have a draft really concerns me for a lot of reasons. I'm pivoting in my thought stream, but between Palantir being like, yeah, there should be a mandatory national draft, and what Palantir does and how they do it, I have a real concern. Like, the whole draft age going up, or not draft age, enlistment age going up. I think there's a lot more damage that the Trump administration can do in their horrible behavior before they're out. And I appreciate that at least the Senate is at least pretending like they're going to try to constrain the president with a war powers resolution. But Donald Trump's perfectly capable of just ignoring. He's got enough sycophants and idiots he's put in high profile places that they seem to be willing to clown themselves to just an insane level, like Kash Patel and his Department of Justice people. Like, it is like gobsmacked. Is that the word? Is that a word? Yeah, that's a word. But like, yeah, like, it is insane the extent to which these people just do whatever Daddy Trump says. It is wild, like disgusting. And boy, you better hope that he never comes out of power, because I mean, you went as far as to commit crimes in his behalf, and I don't know that he's going to actually pardon you. Anyway, back to Thomas Massey. I hope we get Massey unchained. I hope he doesn't give up on the Epstein thing, and I hope he just kind of goes scorched earth. I hope he's just like, all the secrets, he's, oversight, UFO. I hope he just live on the floor is just reading out billionaire names, right? Like, that's what I hope. Like, burn it down. I know a lot of liberals are very upset about at a lot of conservatives for electing Trump. But a lot of liberals are also frustrated. Like, let's not forget that Bernie Sanders should have been like the 2014 or whatever candidate, 2016 presidential candidate, uh, instead of Hillary Clinton. And the Democratic machine, cooked the entire process and did anything and everything to prevent him from becoming the nominee for president. We could have had President Bernie Sanders, which would have been fascinating, instead of evil Hillary Clinton. Like, the Clintons are evil. I mean, that you know, we, two things can be true at the same time, and it's hard. It's hard to accept that we always seem to be picking between um, the lesser of two evils, or the lesser of two great evils. It's like, I think the Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, or do you want to be shot or do you want to be stabbed, was a great analogy. It's like, yeah, both sucks. I don't want either of these, which is why I voted random third party in that one. And I'm pretty sure I did that for the next one. And I'm pretty sure for the last one, I just didn't vote for president because there was no option that I felt good about. So I just didn't vote for president. Yeah, I hope we get Massey Unchained. I think the backlash is coming against foreign lobbyists from all sorts of places. As much as there's been a rise of nationalism in Europe, I think there's really, like, Trump said the right things and then didn't do those things. If you get a real, like, nationalist in the United States running a real America first person, that could be like, really good things might happen, so real uncomfortable radical things could happen as well, because people are willing to go along with a lot of stuff because they're just tired, right? They're just tired of the nonsense. I think from my observations, that's what I'm seeing a lot of. Seeing people, I'm hearing people. The groundswell is happening. The fact that you're hearing regular, everyday people pissed, frustrated, like, we all tolerate a lot of corruption, inconvenience, and abuse as long as we can all eat. But when we lose the ability to eat, then the come apart starts, right? The Arab Spring was caused by that, right? They had a decently educated middle class, or a young working professional class that was supposed to be making money, and the corruption had led to, like, mass unemployment, and so you have educated people who are frustrated that they don't have the promise of what their education was supposed to bring, and it's all because of corruption and their government's pissing away any opportunity that everybody had. And then, you have 13 Arab governments collapse. Now, like, you'll hear some intelligence agencies claim credit, which, sure, they participated, but the fact that the people were willing to do so was very much based in stupid corruption led to a stupid outcome. Yeah. Which, and I guess we kind of deserve our current situation, because we've continued to allow. I hear it all the time. People justifying, well, that's just how it is. To get yours, well, you can, and that's a terrible way to live and be. And we've tolerated developers doing corrupt deals, and, like, we need to build more affordable housing, and then their buddy gets a contract to build a bunch of housing from, off of tax breaks and government subsidies, makes a ton of money, and then we don't actually end up with any affordable housing. Like, oh, we need to build more affordable housing, and it's just like this racket. So instead of actually building affordable housing and like money going to people who build the housing and all sorts of things, it's this whole racket of millionaires making themselves more millionaires and hiding from taxes. Honestly, my current core thoughts are like I went to a Republican caucus earlier last year, and I kind of started going a little more, and I realized like there was maybe 24 people in the district that, and that's like all the different districts are like 12 to 24 people at the most, and then they're picking out their local heads and all of that, and they're going to endorse the people that do county and da 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 da, and like who's going to represent at the state, things like that. And I realized it wouldn't take much for a bunch of young people. If you showed up with 10 people, you could take over your local Republican Party. Showed up with 20 people. I mean, you're talking like you're it. There's no contesting. You could radically change the Republican, and specifically here in Utah. And I think that might be in a lot of places because nobody shows up. It's a gerontocracy. It's a bunch of old people just trying to, keep their, shuffling in who's the president, who's the secretary, who's all of this, and who's going to be the state rep. And then they go and they pick our policies from some conservative think tank. And I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't take much to just upend the whole Republican. Like, if an extra 10 people per precinct showed up and were like, nah, we're done with this, you could radically change the Republican Party from the ground up. Like, I honestly feel like a morality clause. I'm not saying like you have to like be married and Christian and all of that, but I think you have to make a commitment of like, hey, I'm going to commit to keeping my most basic personal contracts I've entered into. So like, if you're married, you don't cheat on your spouse unless you want to register that you're in an open, like officially in an open relationship. So we know what level of standard to hold you to. If you have an affair, you're out. Because if you can't keep your most basic, like personally, like I chose to get into this, like how can we expect you to be ethical at a higher level? I mean, yeah, there are people who might do that, but the problem is more often than not, they don't. And I want people with high moral fiber. I want somebody who's going to make the right decision always. That's why I think we hold people to those standards. And like, if you, enrich yourself, you cross certain lines, you're instantly out. Like a whole like civil penalty between you and the party. And I feel like most of our primaries should all be open now, right? I think they call them jungle primaries, where everybody's running against. You could have 2-3 Democrats, 2-3 Republicans, a bunch of independents, like plus ranked choice voting. Like, hey, get them out. Let's get the best options. But I think it's time to purge the Republican Party of the gerontocracy. This old class that's been enriching themselves. And I've talked about it a couple times, but like I remember when my grandpa got pushed out by the boomers because he would have been like 95 this year. So he's like because he's born in like 1930s. So he wasn't old enough to fight um in World War II. He was fairly young during World War II, but he was in the Navy during the Korean War. Um, but so he's like the end of that. I think they call it the Great Generation. Lived through World War II, Korea, was probably on the upper end a little bit during Vietnam, but was having his family at that time. So was having his kids like late 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah. So, but like when he got chased out of work, it was by the boomers. And they totally broke the law and they laid off everybody who's over a certain age and they started offshoring the jobs. And so I think the boomers, when history gets written, are gonna go down as the worst generation in American history, as the generation that ruined America. And I hope they wear that. And I want when push comes to shove, right? Like they're trying to build all these 55 and up communities, which I think is totally like age discrimination on housing because you don't want loud kids next to you, but you're not going to live by your own like grandchildren or whatever. Piss off. You're what's wrong with you're complaining about our crumbling society that you're causing and that you've caused. You're Donald Trump pretending that you're in a relationship, pretending like you're X, Y, and Z, and just enriching yourselves the whole time. You're like the most selfish, terrible generation. As a broad, like, yeah, there are good people in that generation, but as a broad stroke, for the most part, kind of just a problem. So I think, we should go gloves off. You know what? Yeah, let's. They're the ones pushing like we don't want like these like we want everybody to be treated equal. We don't want discrimination based on race, and it should all be test score. Yeah, you know what? All on test scores, all on capability, all on yeah. Let's boil it out. And if you wouldn't have gotten handed a bunch of money from your parents, I don't know that you'd be all that capable. Because the only ones left are the draft dodgers and those that didn't go to war. The ones that are unimpressive. They got put into the places by they got put into places by their parents and other things. Yeah. Let's make it equal opportunity. Purge them from the government. Purge every sitting Republican. Good, bad, other. Get rid of them all. And then do it to the Democrats 2 years later. If you're in party leadership, you're out, never again to return. No lobbyists, no, everybody out. Everybody out of the pool. If you've been in politics, you're out. It was kicking and screaming to release the Epstein files, kicking and screaming to try to stop a war that we shouldn't be in. Out. Every last one of you idiots out. And I hope that you end up working the jobs for the rest of your lives that you denigrate the entire time. I hope that you end up as Walmart greeters and that you end up, in what's left of call centers competing with AI chatbots. That's what I want for you, for the problems and the destruction to America that you've caused. I want you to suffer through the worst jobs, never to return to public life or fame or fortune. I want your assets stripped and returned to the American people. So people who really work hard, people who weld, people who really have good ideas or who are willing to have conversations can thrive in an actually fair system. I want rule of law to return. I want people who are in positions of trust to be held more accountable. That's why you're in a position of trust. That's why you get paid more money. If you're a cop, you abuse a child, especially sexually, I think death penalty should be on the table. I think we should double the sentence for whatever it is, mandatory. Oh, the sentence is 5 years, guaranteed 10, because you are in a position of trust. You violated that trust of the people and of the individual and of your community. You should pay a higher price. Well, that'll discourage people from wanting to do that job. Good. Raise the pay. Make it so only the best people want to do that job. We should hire more police officers so that they don't have to work 60 hours and they're at the end of their rope all the time, or they're just tired and then they make poor decisions. Maybe police officers should be capped at 38 hours on duty total, right? Benefits, all that, but they should be, maybe we should have them at, or at 32. Because I did the math once and it's like in customer service, turns out if you're just like an average like employee, you're not a bad employee, per like X number, hundred of interactions, you're gonna have bad ones. It has nothing to do with you. It's everything to do with your number of interactions. You're gonna have a bad one. And you need the capacity to do that. So I think the same thing is about police. It's not a question of if a police officer is gonna have a bad one, they're gonna have a bad one. And they need to be like ready to deal with that. So maybe we shouldn't have them working 50 hours a week and putting in all this overtime to get the pay that they want. And maybe we should, be careful about the number of hours. So they have to train X number of hours a week and they have to do X number of things a week. And then they're not on duty extra amounts of time because we've hired a sufficient number. But going back, fire them all. Fire this year, every sitting Republican. From if you're in office right now, I think every single person should be cast out of government, never to return. I'm talking mayors, city council, you name it. Clean house. And then in 2 years, hopefully the Democrats go after and they correctly prosecute a bunch of the Trump administration. And then every one of those assholes out. AOC should never run for president. She's sold out. Whatever her ideals were, she's clearly shown she's a power hungry animal. That's it. And do not be fooled by her. She is nothing more than a power hungry animal. Don't trust her. She's not the hope of the Democratic Party. She's a young Hillary Clinton climbing the ladder. Get rid of her. Get rid of all of them. Bernie, everybody out. I think we should also have an age cap. Hey, we expect you to do a bunch of work. So if you're 78, if you're going to hit 78 years old, you're done. You cannot run for Congress, Senate, anything anymore. It's not a nursing home. Out. Mike Lee, out. That guy's trash. I can't tell you how disgusted I am with what he appears to be publicly. And you know what? It seems like he's worse behind closed doors, trying to sell out our public lands to rich buddies. F you. He claims LDS doctrine about how Donald Trump's captive. No. You publicly said that? Eat shit. You are a clown and you deserve nothing. I don't even think, I could go on and on. I met that guy one time when he was running the first time, and it came away from that conversation. He was sleazy and he was disgusting in person. You could tell he was just there trying to win and for the power, and it felt gross. And that's exactly what he's been. He doesn't really do anything for Utah. He does everything for climbing this ladder. He thinks highly of himself. He thinks he's chosen. Fire him for forever. And John Curtis too, all of them. Blake Moore, fire them all right now. That's my thoughts. Anyway, I'm coming into work. Have a great day.